Kevin Roth here of Rotogrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that Rotogrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on Rotogrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels, and we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your Rotogrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @Rotogrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is a daily fantasy handle you'll find around the industry. Joined today by Stevie, TPFL. That's what you know him as on Twitter. Drizzy26_DFS. That is Andre, millionaire winner. Andre, how are we excited about? I'm excited about today's 11 gamer. I know it's got a bunch of nonsense. We're going to dig into it as far as body parts being in and out and tank season. But I got myself a couple tickets to that 888 on DK tonight. I don't know if you're in there, if you're going to be joining me, but are you in there or no?
No, but you made me maybe want to get one, and no, it's just I'm afraid because this slate is a mess.
It's the perfect size though. It's like 800 people or so or something like that. I might feel what it's like to win six figures. But we'll see. I've never done six figures before. You've done seven. I've never done six. But yeah, man, it's I'm not sure if that's sold out just yet. There's like 100 or so last I checked, for what it's worth. If you're interested, we're not sponsored by DK, just kind of throwing it out there. Let's see, there is about 70 spots left if you want to join me. 888, you can turn it into 150K. Good times for sure. But yeah, not a ton of time for pleasantries here, Andre. Well, some of these games we can just kind of fly through because we'll figure it out as we go, obviously. But yeah, big boy slate. How are we feeling about it?
I feel like it's a headache. It's 11 games, a lot of news, a lot of people are out, but I think you just focus on certain things in certain games and what people are playing for. And if you're paying attention to the news, I think you'll be fine. And that's what I'm gonna try to do. And hopefully, well, I'm gonna dabble a little bit tonight, so hopefully maybe take something down.
Oh man, it's going to be about the Houston Rockets tonight, I believe. The absence, shutdown season, Houston Rockets, you guys are sure aware. I'm sure Stevie's aware. In the battle of the Tankathon, has Orlando Magic they're jockeying for position. Three worst teams in all of basketball: Detroit, Orlando, Houston, all 20 and 56. Stevie, I got a shout out to your Magic, man. They are tanking in game. It's just amazing what they're doing. Just shutting everybody down. Like, oh, this game is too close. We got to put in Bersekis. We got to put in Downton. Good job. Good on your Magic, Stevie. And I assume you're rooting against them. Is that correct currently at this point?
Oh yeah, they beat Golden State like a week ago or something like that, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And like since then, like the Rockets have won a game, and now like there's like a 2-game cushion or whatever. But listen, lose at this point of the season. You're 20-56, just lose. And I feel like yeah, it kind of stinks for the players, but I feel like at the end of the day, you kind of get it. You're not gonna get a superstar to come to Orlando. It's not a big market. They don't have the money. So if Orlando is going to have any kind of stud, it's going to come through the draft. So I mean, if you're Orlando, if you're on this team, if you're Wendell Carter Jr. or one of these guys, like you're like, all right, let's lose.
It doesn't stink for Jeff Doughton or Ignas Brzezikis. He gets a little bit of extra run, but
give them all run. Wendell Carter Jr., don't you have like a hurt ankle? Don't you need to stay out the rest of the season?
They gave him a wrist, I believe, for a couple of days too.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's what they gave him. We'll talk about that game soon enough. They're 3-point dogs versus Washington. And yeah, like they're tied. They're jockeying for position. Detroit, Orlando, Houston, all the exact same record, 20-56. Houston on this slate as well. Houston's countering the tanking of Orlando by saying, okay, we raise. We're gonna shut down Christian Wood for the season. Eric Gordon shut down for the season. Demolition Man Dennis Schroeder shut down for the season. Alperen Şengün not playing tonight. And Andre, if you go on Lineup HQ, right? If you sort by DraftKings best players, point per dollar, obviously raw points matter. But as of right now, the first 3 players we have point per dollar are Rockets. KJ Martin and Jayshawn Tate specifically, the 2 ones that really jump off the page for me. Because they're facing Sacramento. They're also kind of terrible too. So are you excited about playing some Rockets tonight? Is that excited as I am?
I actually kind of am. There's a couple guys that I am actually pretty interested in playing tonight. I guess when we get to that game, I'll start sharing. But yeah, there's a couple guys I really, 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 really like, and just Jayshawn Tate is just too cheap. Just too cheap today. Just play him, lock him in.
A couple other body parts, a couple of other guys who are watching, monitoring that can change the slate. Jonas Valanciunas currently questionable. Tricky part with that one, that's a 10 o'clock game, and they had the nut matchup against Portland. You got CJ McCollum with a first blood revenge game. You got the potential of Hernan Gomez, getting unleashed if Valanciunas doesn't go. If he does, Hernan Gomez can completely dud out. Triple J is questionable. Memphis really has nothing to play for. If you look at the standings, they're locked in that 2 spot. Malcolm Brogdon, they're not sure if they're going to rest him or not tonight. Indiana, like, come on. Like, just rest the dude. What's the point? Let us know. Evan Fournier has already been out and questionable today. He's currently questionable. Trey Mann, we saw he got ruled out last game versus OKC about a half hour before the game started because OKC doesn't want to win either. And like when Trey Mann is the guy you're concerned about helping you win, like the rest of the dudes, it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about it. Stevie, you got anything as far as slate overview? Like obviously a lot of this is dictated by incentive, motivation. We have a fully incentivized Nikola Jokic against the Indiana Pacers coming up soon. Like Denver's doing their absolute best. I believe they stay in that 6th spot. Like he's the best play on this slate. I don't think that's close conversationally. We'll talk about it, but of course salary matters. But yeah, what do you have to chime in before we kind of dive in and break it down game by game?
I think a lot of people are going to be playing this Houston game, and you should be playing this Houston game. I think if you're playing the Houston game, you might have to get different. And I think the way that you could potentially get different is at the top with the studs. Jokic, best play on the slate, hands down, agree with you. If that game kind of blows out and he doesn't get a full run type of game, maybe he doesn't get there as much as some of these other guys. So I think as we're going through, just kind of remembering that, where are we going to get different on this slate? Because I mean, most lineups today, and you'll talk about it, Dean, but 3 to 4 Houston Sacramento players on most builds. And like it makes a ton of sense because of how cheap they are, the usage, the minutes and everything like that. So that's where it's interesting on the slate. But yeah, I think this is a fun slate, and a lot of props that I like already. So
oh, well, sprinkle them on through as we go through the conversation. The people are going to want to hear that. Of course, if you guys sub to scoresandodds.com, Andre gives us picks on there. Grant's always giving us picks. Andy Means, Noto, cards, there's golf, pretty much any sport you can think of. I chime in, of course, on occasion. Yeah, so Stevie, feel free to whatever you have as far as you've wagered on so far or whatever you like. And same deal with you, Andre. Before we dive in, Andre, do you have any overarching thoughts as far as this slate?
I kind of agree with Stevie. It's gonna depend on the studs at top. Finding a way to get different. Jokic is obviously the best spend on this slate, but there are other options that I do like on this slate that have the upside. Because I think you can fit two in tonight clearly. So I think pairing your second stud that you go with will be a difference maker in this today. So obviously with the value plays and picking the right ones, but I kind of like that, and I have a few ways where we can get different and a few different ideas.
Let's see. First optimal right now on DK has 2 Kings and 2 Rockets for what it's worth, and 2 Thunder. So there you go. Welcome to the last week or so of the NBA season. I'm running on FanDuel too, out of curiosity. Let's see. First one has 1 King, 2 Rockets. There's a Blazer. Of course, there's Jokic because he's still really cheap. And Luka Doncic on FanDuel at 10.4K. Like, you can get Luka and Jokic on FanDuel is going to be a really, really popular combination. Just the 2 studs are pretty easy to pay for. We'll talk about that as we go. Let's go ahead, break it down game by game. Let's talk about the first one on the slate. Dallas at Cleveland, 214.5 is the total. Dallas playing on the back half of back-to-back, and they are traveling. They're 1-point favorites here. Big deal for Cleveland here is the absence of, hopefully, the rookie of the year, Evan Mobley. He's not playing basketball tonight. Of course, Jared Allen is out as well. Dallas is without Spencer Dinwiddie for what it's worth. As far as motivation, Cleveland fully motivated. They want to get out of that 7 spot. They've been tumbling. Now they're in the play-in nonsense, right behind Toronto by 1 game. Dallas, jockeying for position a little bit there with Golden State, couple games in front of Utah. Andre, I'll throw this one to you. Like, is there a player that has their minutes more locked in, more solidified on this entire slate than Darius Garland? We're projecting him for 40 minutes. Like, that's the projection. Yeah, he's expensive, but there's a comfort in buying a bunch of minutes too.
No, I don't think there is any someone more solidified than that, and it's warranted. This whole game is a good game. Like it says, must win on both sides. So this is a game to me that I would game stack definitely for sure. To run it back for sure. Garland is a great GPP option, I think, today, especially going against Dallas. They're good defensively, but I think that with the amount of minutes, I think they can override that a little bit too. And another player I do like on Cleveland a lot more than Garland, unfortunately, is Kevin Love. Especially with Mobley being out, as you mentioned before, and Jared Allen's out. So to me, he's in a fantastic spot. 15% ownership is not enough, in my opinion, especially when he's going to have to play 30 minutes. And the weakness to me for Dallas has always been the interior. They always have guards, a good guard play, and good wings that can defend. But who's going to be able to stop Kevin Love if he decides to post up on the block and go to work? Not really many, if any, at all. So that's someone I think I love today a lot, and I'm going to try to get a lot of exposure to today.
All right, hit that refresh button. I'm not sure if you're looking at DK or FanDuel, but okay. So on FanDuel, he's 5'3", which is just silly. He's 5'3" on FanDuel, and we're looking at 41% ownership. On DK, he's 6'9", I believe, which is
6'9".
It's a little. I mean, it feels a little pricey, but he's been awesome fantasy point per minute, and we're projecting 30. If he plays 30 minutes, that's really strong. And we actually have him at 3% ownership. If that's the case, that seems a little.
Yeah, you got to update it. Ooh.
That seems too low. I think some of that stuff went to Houston, I'm guessing, since our last ownership. And of course, this stuff is fluid. It always changes the closer we get to lock. But you're looking for a game change. I don't know if that's where it's going to settle. Levert's minutes are pretty secure as well, too, at 14%. And Garland, is not going to get played just because he's super expensive. But, he could put up 35 and 12, and it wouldn't shock us. But he is 10K, so I don't even know if that's enough. Maybe that's enough. I guess that's fine. So your favorite player on Cleveland when everything is kind of baked in?
Yeah, it's going to be baked into that, but more so it's going to be like I said, Kevin Love. I would love to, like Garland. Garland would be a good play. He's an excellent GPP play, but with a guy like Jokic on this slate, I mean, like 70 means I don't like on FanDuel, he's more of a priority. DK, you probably can get away with it a little bit, but I know the last one I said that he went out and put 93 up. But
They'll do that sometimes.
yes, yes, he will, and that's the problem. You have to worry about that. You have to keep that in the back of your mind. But 12.4K is an expensive price to pay for him. He has to get like 70 pretty much fantasy points just to pretty much hit value. So I don't know if that's even. And so to me, that makes it worth kind of pivoting over to a guy like Garland and seeing if you can maybe run like a Garland, Luka Doncic, who I also love today a lot, on the other side, and see if they both have upside games for like 70 fantasy points each.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to do. You're really squeezing a lot of pennies there after that, but there's going to be plenty of value coming. There's already plenty of value and stuff coming through. Stevie, what do you have? What are your thoughts? Feel free to go wherever you want, whatever side of the game you like.
I mean, you guys kind of nailed it. This game important to both teams. That's what we're kind of looking for last week and a half of the season. So on the Dallas side, obviously Luka is a good pivot off of Jokic if you want to do that. The problem is, I think the opportunity cost is a little different for a point guard on this slate, just because we have so many good point per dollar point guards on this slate where center, there's a few values, but Jokic could outscore the next center by 25 points on this slate. I don't know if that's the case with Luka. So on the Cleveland side, I think the gloves are going to be off for Kevin Love here. They've been very friendly with Kevin Love as far as minutes, but now they need to win. Mobley's out. I think he plays 30 minutes from here on out. Was really excited to play him in playoff basketball, and now we can kind of just start playing him to finish out the last week and a half. So good game, stackable game. Not my favorite game on the slate, but definitely some plays here that make some sense.
Well, it's the weird thing where like it's a bad game environment, right? 214, good defensive teams, kind of slow, but it's good. Like what do you value more?
Yeah.
Right. I think I value more of like these teams are trying and these their minutes are more secure. I think that's kind of where I'm at too. I don't know if I'm going to get the Luka on DK. I'm not playing on FanDuel. If I was, I would love Luka on FanDuel at his price. It's ridiculous. And like, I'm sure the ownership reflects it, but DK, I don't know if I'm getting there. Worth noting, Cleveland's defense, of course, takes a big hit, not just the absence of Allen, but now the absence of Mobley, especially on the inside. Like Cleveland's defense is scuffling. The team overall is scuffling. So yeah, it's not as bad of a matchup as it looked. And it is a back-to-back for Dallas, but they barely broke a sweat versus the Lakers last night. I think the Lakers made it look like somewhat respectable in the fourth quarter, but like Luka was at a triple-double in the midway through the third. I don't think he saw the fourth. It was just ugly. So they're not like terribly overworked. Andre, final word as far as this game. Anything else before we move on?
Do you sprinkle in a little bit of Karis LeVert in GPP since he's been playing 30 minutes the last two games? But just a sprinkle, if anything. He's better than FanDuel.
I will say this, Dean. Right now on Prize Pick, Garland is like 23.5 points. I love the over on that.
I like that too. I think it's a good call. I would bet that we actually have projections for these things. Like if you have like not just like fantasy projections, but breaks down by position as well. I'm curious what we're projecting as far as actual points in the bucket. I'm going to pull that up in a second, but I bet it's over. It's probably like around 25 or so. Let's see. Now I'm curious. Our points projection is 24.87. So there you go on Garland. That's more, right? Than 22.5 or 23.
I like when it's more. It's always good.
Yeah. Feel pretty good about that. Let's talk about, Stevie, let's talk about your Magic. You can talk about them as much as you want. I don't think I'm playing anybody on Orlando tonight. I'm frightened of what they're going to do. Everybody's going to play 24 minutes, I think. Maybe. We'll see. But they are 3-point dogs to Washington. 218.5 is the total. Stevie, Magic players, Wagner revenge, anything?
Yeah, Washington +3 or -3, whatever it is.
It's a good call, actually.
Yeah, like what this line, it opened. So when we did the morning grind last night, it was Washington -5. So for some reason, people are betting on the Magic, which makes absolutely no sense here. They obviously haven't been paying attention, but yeah, no interest in the Magic whatsoever in this spot. Like we are very like friendly with the minute projections here for some of these guys. And like at the end of the day, I don't think you can trust anybody. Yeah, maybe you take a shot on Wagner, but even if he plays 25 minutes, is he going to outperform some of these Houston, Sacramento, Portland, value plays that we have on this slate? So, and even on the Washington side, I think, yeah, you could take shots on Porzingis. He's kind of projected around 15% ownership right now. Hachimura is cheap. Denny's kind of cheap, but this game in general just screams stay away. Maybe a couple Washington players, but yeah, Dean, I want nothing to do with the Orlando Magic.
That number does. I know it's a back-to-back for Washington, but I mean, and like maybe is there rumors out there that Porzingis might sit? He's played some back-to-backs. I don't know what's going. That line does seem weird.
I feel like we would have already had that news, but even if Porzingis sits, if Porzingis gets ruled out, does Orlando like rule out Cole Anthony? Like, hey, I'll show you my card. well,
they rule out players mid-game. Like that's on the fly. They're like saying, okay, well, that you're off. You can just hit the showers. This doesn't matter. Andre, that does seem a little. Washington probably should be, 3-point line at home. You're basically saying the teams are even, and I don't think they are.
No, I definitely don't think they are for sure. So I side with Washington here to win outright, obviously. But I don't like this game at all. I'm not playing nobody from Orlando. I don't trust nobody from Orlando. Don't play nobody. If you're playing player props, do not do any player props from Orlando. You just can't trust it.
What about betting him under?
I mean, you could take the under on Cole Anthony. I think it was at 16.5 points. I'd pound the under on that.
You don't think you get a quick 16 to come out? Because that's the thing. I mean, it's
can.
Listen, I'm a Magic fan. He starts scoring like that. Hey, come on in. He gets like tired. 8. It's like, all right, you're not playing anymore this first half. So I think that line, I think he's hit it like once out of the last 5 or 6 games. So I hear what you're saying. There's way better props today. I was just saying.
No, I understand that, and you're right. So if you are taking guys, take the unders on these plays, because that's probably what will happen. And honestly, if I'm playing him from Washington, it's going to be more so a guy like Tomas Satoransky at 4,200 and 3,900. I think he's a good play. Could play like 25, 30 minutes. He's been playing last couple games. And obviously been around like a decent fantasy point per minute guy and playing about we've been getting like 25 fantasy points on average probably over the past couple games. But I think that in this matchup with Orlando and with them playing him a lot of minutes at the point guard position and the two guard a little bit, I like it. He can easily have a game have like a 30 fantasy point game. I think and that can help your lineups out a lot, especially with his cheap price. Denny Avdia is a good play too as well. That's someone I'm going to be getting to a lot of just because 30 fantasy points I don't think is enough, especially on FanDuel with him. I think he's an okay DraftKings play. And Porzingis is always a good option, especially if he plays, because the Washington Wizards have nothing to play for. But they're still, I guess they just want to maybe see what they have, maybe in Porzingis. So I guess that you could play him as a GPP play. I don't honestly like it much, but he should be able to have a monster game here if he plays his full allotment of minutes, and there's really no one from Orlando playing.
Yeah, the tricky one, Porzingis, they've been playing him, like you said, like 29 yesterday, 31, 32, 33, 32. And they're sort of in no man's land, kind of, sort of, like they're not good enough to make any sort of interest in the playoffs, obviously. And they have the 10th worst record. They're kind of like in that log jam with New Orleans and San Antonio. But like there's not a ton, they don't have a ton of movement potential, basically. So I don't know. But our projections like him, for the record. And like he's kind of popping. And I don't know if that's where, I mean, I get it. And he's still got the ability, the matchup's good. And you tell me he plays 32 minutes tonight, I feel great about it, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm hesitant. And if he's gonna be popular, I might push back a little bit on that. Let's move on. Let's talk about, we kind of hinted this one already. This is Denver, the Nuggets in Indiana, 235.5 is a total. They are 9-point favorites in Indiana. Oh, Indiana, Gogo Batazzi has got that foot. He seems to be questionable every single game. He's questionable right now. Isaiah Jackson's questionable. Brogdon, they may or may not rest him. Who knows? Dwayne Washington's got a hip, so he's questionable. We know Duarte officially ruled out. As of right now, we have 10 guys projected in. That is including we're projecting Brogdon not to play. We just took a call on that basically in our projections. We are projecting Batazzi in for what it's worth, and not Isaiah Jackson also. So this stuff may or may not change. As far as Denver, you all know the deal. It's all about Jokic. Michael Green is currently questionable for what it's worth. But Jokic against Indiana, this front court has been pummeled, annihilated, whatever adjective you want to use of late against basically anybody. And now you're going to bring in the Joker, fully incentivized Jokic, right there as far as they're trying to keep Minnesota away from them. Minnesota's 2 games behind. They're on the 7, Denver's in the 6. They want to stay in that 6, obviously. They can move to 5 as well. Yeah, Andre, how much are we prioritizing Jokic? Because I think we can get him fairly easily. And yeah, if he's going to be chalky, and I think I don't care.
I mean, like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, like on FanDuel, probably you have to play the guy. Like I don't see no one else getting them, and it's a different side over there. On DraftKings, I'm just a little bit hesitant because he's $1,000 more. I'm gonna play him. Like if I'm making like 10 lineups, he'll probably be in like maybe 3 or 4 of them, just to have some of them. But it's uncomfortable not playing him, but then it's also uncomfortable having him at this price point because he can get 70 and he cannot be needed for you to take down the GPP just for the simple fact of his price being too high and 70 points is not enough. So that's my only concern with him. Other than that, he's a fantastic play. He would be a lock to me if he was definitely like $200, like $1,000 cheaper.
It's a wild thing to say, but that's probably like you could win this slate without having 70 points from Jokic because there's so many teams, so many other guys are going to do things like, he's not going to hurt you if you have him. I don't think at 70, but you don't need him, right? It's kind of the point. You don't need it. It's good. Yeah. If I told you he was getting you 70, no more, no less, did you hit the lock button though? No. Okay.
I'll take my chances elsewhere.
Do you play anybody else in Denver? Like, Gordon, Barton do anything for you?
No, it's just Jokic for me, and that's it. I'll maybe take a chance, maybe on DK, maybe on Monte Morris a little bit, and if I'm running like more of a balance building GPPs, but that's really it. No one else.
Another situation where he's going to be much more heavily owned on FanDuel than he is on DK. Currently, we have it at 33% on FanDuel and 16% on DK. I think it'll be higher for both those numbers when everything settles. Stevie, what do you have for me?
I mean, so I have one lineup built, playing one lineup, single entry stuff, few different things, and entered some MLB qualifiers and stuff. And currently,
get excited.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. But
I can't wait either.
I currently don't have Jokic, and it's more of like I got, I think 3, 8, 9K players in the lineup instead of playing Jokic. And I think that's just kind of a way to get different. Again, like Sacramento, Houston, I have 4 guys from that game in my lineup. So knowing that I'm going to be playing those chalkier plays, how do I get different? I mean, Jokic he's a beast and he should crush in this game. One other thing that I kind of want to note is Aaron Gordon looks Aaron Gordon again. This dude looks healthy. He's playing good basketball right now. Fantasy points have been rolling in there. So in this game at his ownership, he's kind of interesting. I don't think he breaks the slate, but I think he's someone that, potentially flies under the radar. But this game overall kind of stinks. I think Denver crushes them in this game, and it's not going to be particularly close. So I worry about that. And then on the Pacers side, I don't think Brogdon plays again this season for what it's worth. I really don't see a need for him to play. There's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason whatsoever. Like the Pacers, they're in a bad spot. They could win out and be in the same place that they could be if they lose out. So, I mean, they're just kind of finishing out the season where they're at. They built a little bit for next year with Halliburton and stuff, but I don't even know why Halliburton's out there playing. What's the
In 40
point
minutes the other night.
I know what's the point of getting him hurt, but yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the Pacers and you're looking at this game in general, maybe some tournament pieces, but outside of that, that's kind of it.
You're right, Bo, in saying they're kind of in their own little spot because there are 3 wins above OKC in the 5 spot, and there are 2 losses behind Sacramento and Portland. So, they're probably going to settle right there. You never really know, but that's most likely what how it's going to go. Halliburton's worth talking about for FanDuel. Again, just the way the FanDuel thing, he's really cheap over there. If Brogdon doesn't play, we've seen him kind of running the show. I don't think I'm playing anybody in Indiana, DK wise, unless multiple guys are ruled out, which we may see, may be interesting. But the FanDuel price for Halliburton at 7.6 seems really cheap, especially if Brogdon sits. I don't know, Andre, you're playing FanDuel tonight? I'm not, but if you were, or if you are, that looks pretty good to me.
I'm actually playing DK tonight for once.
Okay.
But let me I'll open up FanDuel real quick for you. But I probably even though his price is cheaper on FanDuel, I just don't see the upside in it. He hasn't had an upside game in a while. I can't get behind Ross and Halliburton today. I just rather go to other different options today. Even at his price point of 77.6K.
Yeah, I mean, last game he was 25 and 13, and he played 40 minutes. So, and again, he's not 10K like he is on DK. Basically, he's 7.5. So, yeah, I don't think I'm getting there on DK, but on FanDuel, I would. You want to sell me on a Pacer, Andre?
Oh no, I don't have no Pacers.
Yeah, I don't know if Stevie, you said no as well, right?
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't. Charlotte, New York, 222 is the total. New York is a 3-point dog here. This game is on the slate, but is it really? I don't. Well, I guess it's kind of interesting as far as the New York side, especially if we get Fournier out. We could see quickly, get his minutes elevated. Mitch Rob's minutes perfectly solidified. I don't know what to do with this game. I maybe it's a mistake on my part, Andre. Why am I ignoring this one mostly?
Because everyone to me is a price appropriately. And I don't know many people have upside in this game besides the guy maybe like Alec Burks. It's the only guy I can see that has upside in here. At least from the New York side. From the Charlotte side, I don't even think I have anyone from Charlotte besides like I think LaMelo's priced too high on DK. On FanDuel, his price is 9K. It's a little bit better, but I think still too high. I'd rather go to a guy like Terry Rozier, who was to me a little bit, probably at his price a little bit too cheap, especially for this matchup, and he can easily go off here. And Miles Bridges is just a tad bit underpriced. So it's favors the Charlotte side as far as pricing wise and getting guys from there. And they'll be a little owned. So I would probably just go with a guy, maybe a one-off piece from this game as a whole. Nothing crazy, unless you want to do like a 1v1 run back. But I do like Miles Bridges a lot. I want some one run back or Terry Rozier. And then from New York, it would just be Alec Burks. That's it.
I would see how many minutes he played last game?
Huh?
You know how many minutes he played last game?
No, I'm looking at right now, the 41. Pretty much all of them.
42 minutes.
That's
what are we doing, man?
I don't know. And they're not even seeing this another thing. They're not even in the playoff or playing tournament contention. So Tips is just doing weird stuff and doing Tips things again. So I still like it though. If he's gonna be playing that many minutes, and play him for sure. Barrett, same thing. I think he played 43 minutes. So he's just going to run these guys to the ground. I think he's back to his old ways to run these guys to the ground. So
does he think that they still, and mathematically they have a shot for what it's worth? They don't, but it's not happening. Does he think that is he not aware of the standings and the schedule and how many games are left?
I think
he doesn't care. I
think he's praying for a New York miracle. That's not happening.
Oh man, Bing Bong was so long ago. Man, that was the peak of their season, right? I can't remember who it was against, but Stevie, well, chime in. It feels like the Hornets have like not changed in like the last, I don't know, 10, 15 games. Like it's basically the same. You could always play those guys, but nobody really looks amazing. But sure, you can play LaMelo, yada, yada, Rozier. New York's the more interesting side of this game, especially if Fournier gets ruled out. What do you have here, Stevie? What's exciting for you?
I mean, I probably don't play anybody from this game. I think LaMelo, if you're running like 150, you could definitely get some exposure to LaMelo on this slate. He's someone that has averaged, I think, 55 fantasy points in 2 meetings against this team. I think it was like 53 and 57. So he's really interesting, and I love him on Prize Picks. You can get his fantasy points at 40 over there on Prize Picks. Love the over on that. He's hit that 8 out of the last 9 games. Good matchup against the Knicks. So I think LaMelo is interesting in that aspect, but it's more of, back to that conversation of how do I get different at the top. And LaMelo is one of those guys that you could potentially get big or different with. And like Andre was saying, you can run it back with a 1v1 run back here with a Randall or Mitch Rob, because Charlotte can't rebound and they stink against bigs. So we could see a big game here from Randall or Mitch Rob. RJ Barrett is always that guy. Burks is going to play a ton of minutes. They have some upside in their aspects as well. But man, I love big guys against Charlotte, and it's somewhat interesting. It's just one of those games where can the Knicks really get there still? Are they really going to run these guys out there 40 minutes a night still? I think they have to win out, and they've won 4 straight, and Atlanta has to lose, and Charlotte has to lose. So, I mean, I guess on the Knicks side of things, this is a big game for them. This is one of the last chances they're going to have at this team. But that's a big time stretch.
All they're doing is losing ping pong balls and winning 4 games.
Right.
In a row.
Good job.
Like, what are you doing? You just chill, man.
Give the Orlando Magic more.
Yeah. Let's talk about, Andre, we got to talk about our Heat. The Heat, man, been sputtering a good bit. They finally shellacked somebody. It was the Kings last game. This is, again, Andre, this is that game, right? Where it's not a good environment. Miami in Boston, not a high total, 215, right? 213 and a half. Everybody back for Boston with the exception of Williams. Brown was out, Tatum was out. Everybody's good to go now for Boston with the, Williams out 4 to 6 weeks. Kind of a bummer for them. Our Heats, Oladipo, by the way, they basically said like he's the reason why we sucked, more or less. Like he was killing our spacing. I'm sure. Did you see that stuff? Like talking about how the spacing is so bad for Miami, and that's why.
No, I haven't got a chance to. I've been running all over the place.
Yeah, so I think he's like out of the rotation. That's sort of where we're at right now, as far as, not that he doesn't matter for DFS, really, just kind of saying. Yeah, he already, spacing's huge, and they have Bam and Jimmy. Those guys hurt it enough. So yeah, that's why they need the 3-point chuckers as well. Like Max Strus jumped in the starting lineup last game. But again, this is the same question, Andre. Is it like bad game environment, normal slate? Like, if this is like 2 months ago, we probably ignore this. Fun game to watch, not a great DFS game, but at least we know these two teams are incentivized, right? In theory, they both want that number 1 spot in the East. Brooklyn most likely to get to 7. Miami currently at 1, Boston currently at 3. It's really, really tight. So I guess I would imagine they both want this game. So how do you handle it?
I'm not playing anybody actually from this game. That's how I'm This game is going to be slow. It's going to be a grinded out game. It's going to just come down to just one possession and after another. I'm a betting man. I don't know if I'll probably take the under on this game. I think it's just going to be that slow. But it's just so only person I can think maybe it's the roster maybe is Bam Adebayo, but that's a long shot at 8.4K and 8K on FanDuel. Not someone that I have a lot of interest in, just a tiny bit. Even though Jimmy Butler's price is still good, I think this with all the other value we have and all the other plays at these positions, it makes it hard to get to those guys because in their situation currently towards the end of the season, they have the same possible upside as Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo in a way.
I think I'm mostly ignoring it too, but ESPN game for what it's worth. And Jimmy, again, this is another FanDuel, 7-9 on FanDuel. You don't see him that cheap over there too often. 8-6 on DK. Stevie, yeah, again, good basketball game. Two teams that are going to try. You like that at this point. but also they're pretty good defensively, and there's not a lot appealing as far as salaries. So what are we doing here?
I mean, 3 entry people probably fading this game.
Yeah.
If you're running 20 entry max, you're running 150. This game has all the makings of like a playoff type of game. Big minutes from Tatum and Brown and Bam and Butler. So I could see, it's not like a full on 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 type game stack, but I could see going Butler, Tatum, and just hoping that you get like that double overtime 45-minute type game. But I think the game's slow, and that kind of stinks. There's a lot of great games on the slate, but I think if you're attacking this game, you're playing the studs. You're not going down to those value guys. You're playing the studs. You're hoping for, we know Butler and Tatum can take games over. Like Jason Tatum's really good. So, Butler hasn't been the best here recently, but this is a huge game. 1 seed in the East is huge, and it's wide open here with a week and a half to go, with the Heat, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the 76ers. Like 4 teams can still win the East. And I mean, I think that's huge when we're looking at how this playoff situation works with the 7 and 8 seed playing, and then the playing, like how that works. Like, I think you want to be at home. You want to be the 1 seed no matter what, but I think even more this year with this new playoff format.
I don't know if you want to be the 1 seed if you play Brooklyn though. If they play Brooklyn in the first round, that's scary.
So
do you think Brooklyn does? Do you think Brooklyn loses to the Cavs?
No, Brooklyn. No,
yeah. Then you would play if you're. Yeah, then you play Brooklyn and the Cavs would play each other, and they would be winner would be the 7 seed. The 9 and 10 play, and then play the loser of the 7-8 seed, and then they're the 8 seed, the winner of that game. So if you're the 1 seed. If you're the 1 seed, you're potentially playing the worst of the last final play-in game. It's so complicated, but it's fun.
I'm looking at the wrong fan. I must look at the wrong standings then.
Yeah, 7 plays 8. The winner of that gets the 7. 9 plays 10. The winner of that plays the loser of 7 versus 8, and they get the 8 spot. Which, like, it seems like the most likely scenario, and you never know, but most likely anybody can win 1 game. But Brooklyn probably gets that 7. So it's this weird thing where you want the 1, but I think the 3 is more appealing than the 2.
That's why like the Cavs, like if you're a Cavs fan, you really want them to get in front of Toronto. Like you do not want them to be the 7 seed. You don't want to play Brooklyn in that play-in game.
No.
Yeah, and who knows if Mobley's going to be available? He's gone for the next 3. They've had this Cinderella kind of season, and like they might not be knocked out right away.
That's why Garland's going to play 48 minutes a night for the next week and a half.
We got a second for this. I proposed this the other day. Let's do this, because why should we punish Miami or Milwaukee or Boston or whatever if they have to face Brooklyn in the first round? Put this on TV, televise it, and like 1 through 4 teams, 1 gets to go first. You draft your opponent. You get to hand pick and say, that team stinks. I want to beat them. Like you got like now beef talking. You guys want us? What, you're picking us? How is that? That's
that
fun,
hurts
isn't
the
it?
value of the regular season for the 5 through 8 seed though too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the 5 seed, you work really hard to get those 45, 50 wins. Like, I love the idea, Dean. Like, I think it's awesome, and I think anything they can do to like. I even like what they did this year. Something new, something fresh. Like it's different, and I like it. We've seen so many times where, like Brooklyn, like the Lakers, like if we go to the Western Conference, like San Antonio, LA, or New Orleans, depending on injuries, could make huge runs. Like the Clippers, like if Kawhi gets back too, like Paul George is back, like they can make a huge run. So I feel like these teams, like it just makes the playoffs more fun, makes it more competitive, and we got at the end of the day, we get to see the best players play against each other, and that's what we want to see in the playoffs.
We got anything else here, Andre? As far as
I just have a player. I just have a prop.
Go for it.
Jason Tatum over on 3s today.
What's the number?
I think it's 3.5 on some and 2. Yeah, 3.5.
We haven't acknowledged the YouTube chat just yet. My bad. What's up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do hit the subscribe. Do turn on notifications. Some of y'all there are chatting. If you're asking some questions, we'll do our best to knock those out. End the show. When you put your questions in there, producer Devin's going to pull them, throw them my way, and I'll ask these guys into the show. But give us details. Let us know if it's for FanDuel or DraftKings or Yahoo. if it's a tournament, if it's a massive field tournament. Stevie made a good point before about this game, Miami-Boston game. Like, it's not necessarily something you're going to go for a single entry, 3-entry max. You can, if you want to go like boom bust, but you certainly can get that for like large field stuff. You're not crossing out guys like Tatum. So just drop the specifics in there, and that makes it easier to answer the question. The more we know, the more details, the better. Of course, if you prefer, you guys jump in our Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. That is where Devin is lurking. A lot of other people lurking. I think we have the bot active today. If you guys jump in there again, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Yeah, the live stream chat channel. You click that bot button, you get yourself 1 week free of RG Premium. We're closing in on, at some point, you'll even get a piece of baseball. Not a week, we're a little more than a week away, but soon enough, you'll get a piece of baseball. And you're going to want that for many reasons, but cheese is good. Dave Potts, you want to read his article. You want to get access to his content along everybody else, but his content is second to none. Two-time millionaire winner, Dave Potts. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the next game on the slate, which happens to be, I'm stretching these words out because I'm trying to find my page. It's Minnesota, Toronto, 229 is a total 2-point game here. Stevie, this is a better game environment than Miami, Boston, but also two teams that are fully motivated. Toronto in the 6th spot, right above Cleveland lurking. Minnesota closing in on Denver, 2 games behind them. So we're going to get two teams trying their best in a pretty good game environment, especially tight rotations on Toronto. Where are you at?
I mean, everyone's kind of priced appropriately for this game. And like, there's obviously game stack builds that you can do, but Karl-Anthony Towns, I think, is a really good pivot off of Jokic. If Jokic doesn't get like that fourth quarter, or just doesn't even have like an upside game at 12-6 or whatever he is, 12-4. Karl-Anthony Towns is 9'6". We know he has like 60+ point ceiling. They're going to need his size in this game. Toronto plays big. So I think this is a game that we see closer to that like 35 to 38 type minute game for Cat. And I think he has 50+ point upside. So I don't mind him. I don't mind Edwards or Russell. It's just they're kind of priced where they should be. And, the cheap guys, there's way better cheap plays on the slate. So maybe Pat Beverly, but again, I like better value plays. And then Siakam is always someone that's playable. Van Vliet's too expensive with OG and Trent there, and Barnes is kind of expensive. So for me on the Toronto side, everyone is priced exactly where they should be outside of maybe OG, who's under 6K and should play 40 minutes in this game. So maybe you take shots on him.
He is my favorite play in this game when you consider everything, salary and yada, yada. OG Anunoby is my favorite piece. But yeah, we know how that Toronto rotation is. Nick Nurse goes to the Tom Thibodeau school of the divvying out minutes. We have projected 34 for OG for what it's worth, like 38 for Pascal, Trent for 32, FEV 36. By the way, Gogo Wataze in, which is good because Jokic is going to work him. Brogdon is tanking. He's not playing tonight. Isaiah Jackson also out. Washington available. So I think that's what we had. Brissett still game time decision. I think we have him currently in. Ntilikina, for what it's worth, is out. I don't think that matters a ton, but he's not playing basketball this evening. Yeah, Andre, same question. Minnesota, Toronto. Again, important game that matters. What do we have?
Yeah, I'm getting just pretty much only 2 players from each side of this game, honestly. Like Stevie mentioned, on the Toronto side, I think Fred is a little bit too priced, a little bit too high. And so Trent is I think he's fine, but an okay play. I kind of do, well, I do love actually Pascal Siakam just for the run he's been on lately. He seems to be catching a groove groove and fire at the right time. So he's someone I have a lot of interest in rostering today. And OG Anunoby coming back at 5'7", I think it's too cheap. I'm not rostering no one else. I think Fred's, like you said, a little bit too expensive with those other 2 guys back. And on the other side, just pretty much just gonna either running back with either Karl-Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards. I think those 2 guys are the best guys from this team and the 4 best guys from this game to target and to have. And hopefully, you can run like a mini game stack and hopefully catch an upside from a couple of these guys.
Just curious to check the ownership as far as what we have in these guys, because I suspect they're going to be kind of neglected. DK, Cat, we have at 16%, OG at 20, Bev at 10. Yeah, so Pascal at less than 7%. I know he's 9.5, but like if you're getting 38 minutes, that's certainly interesting for tournaments, and it's not going to go much higher than that, as far as I can tell. All right, let's talk about the main event of this slate. A game just built for DFSers, Sacramento and Houston. 229 is the total. Sacramento 3-point favorite here. Sacramento, we know the deal. There's no Fox. Fox is out. Sabonis out. Lamb out. Alex Len is not playing basketball tonight. For Houston, they ruled out Wood. Well, there's a report that Wood, Gordon, and Schroeder are going to be gone for the rest of the season. Wouldn't surprise me. They're definitely out tonight. And they added Alperen Şengün is not going to be playing. So I was in our projection team, like kind of like our Discord channel, and just a conversation about it, the Slack channel, and like kind of going back and forth. We're just kind of reading what they're talking about. They're really doing their best here, Andre, to try to figure out what Houston's going to do. And they were going back and forth as far as maybe Fernando's going to start, maybe KJ Martin's going to start. You elevate a guy like Jayshawn Tate, of course. They are down to 10 bodies. Garuba is a guy that's going to get some run we're expecting, but man, and they're all so cheap, right? Like, Kevin Porter's kind of, not almost expensive, but 7K, Green 6.5K, but Tate at 4.5, KJ Martin 3.6, Fernando 3K, Josh Christopher's 3.9. The Rockets just, it's really hard to project the minutes. Hard to project the starting lineup, but no matter what, I think Martin gets minutes. Fernando should get some decent run. Where are you at as far as Houston? Like it seems like there's a lot to dissect here.
Yeah, I want to see a starting lineup because I'm trying to figure out who do I want to play more, Fernando or Garuba. I know a lot of people are probably leaning. I think one of those centers are going to be probably honestly necessary in the slate, just because of the fact that they're 3K, and if they play like 20-25 minutes here, they both are Fernando's at 1.11 fantasy point per minute on DK, and Garuba is 0.96 fantasy point per minute. So
is that last 2 years? What are you looking at? Because I got different numbers. Where are you looking?
I'm just looking on the optimizer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like that's I kind of looked at the core IQ stuff, and you can kick guys off, but your sample is going to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But like this year, Fernando at 53 minutes, 25% usage, 1.42 fantasy points per minute. Awesome. But it's 53 minminutes. Garuba in 128 minutes, 11% usage, which is just terrible. That's like Tony Snell territory, I think. At 0.96 fantasy points, because I think he's a good rebounder.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it's worth noting. And I have Fernando ahead of Garuba, but if a Garuba starting and Fernando isn't, then I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that matters. And that's why I said I want to wait. Like you, but they're both for 3K, so you can play one of these guys at the center position and just flip flop them out for each other if you need to. I think that's a good idea to do tonight. But I love this game as a whole. Jalen Green's one of my favorite players. Kevin Porter Jr. Is too. I really do love Josh Christopher though. I was on him, I think, a couple of nights ago where he had that monster game. I think was it against San Antonio? Against San Antonio, had 42 fantasy points. So I like the. I think they're going to get more of a good look at this guy. Great shooter, plays a little bit of defense, plays hard, rebounds the ball at a decent rate. So pretty decent to say. So I kind of like him today. He's probably like my second or third favorite. I like Tate too a lot, but what concerns me with Tate is this is just a thought from last year about how they handled the same thing at towards the end of the season. They sometimes just did not play him, although they're not playing him a lot of minutes now, but how is that going to work? 4.5K is too cheap, but are they going to run him out there for 30, 35 minutes, or are they just going to play him around 22, 25? Because then I don't think you need him that much on the slate.
He's also been a big foul trouble guy as well, too, and he's kind of sputtered here towards the end. Like he's just been in bad form. Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, I like him also, and the price has kind of reflected that he's kind of tumbled as well. Let me ask you this, Andre, before I talk to Stevie about this, because Houston, we kind of referenced Detroit, Houston, Orlando. They're all three the worst record in basketball. Houston is aware of this. They have access to the standings. They've ruled out Wood. They ruled out Gordon. They ruled out Schroeder. They know what's in their best interest, right?
Mhm.
So do they pump the brakes a little bit on Kevin Porter Jr.? Do they pump the brakes a little bit on Green? Or they let them go and play 35 minutes each?
I mean, I think you can still let them play because they can still lose. So, like we've seen it before, it makes the game a little bit more competitive. But I don't see why they would take him out. I would have to see it happen, honestly, to believe it. Because like Orlando, I can't believe he did it in the fourth quarter. They did in the fourth quarter when he did. Hurt my props parlay a lot, but I think they have to play the same allotment of minutes. These guys, they're young. Even if you win one game, it's not going to hurt towards the end of the season. I understand that. I don't know if they really want to get the. I know they want to tank and have a better lottery pick, but how far are they really from the bottom? You said that like 3 or 4
So
games.
they're tied. It's a three-way tie.
They're tied for the bottom.
Yeah, it's a three-way tie. Detroit, Orlando, and Houston. They're all the same record, 20 and 56.
I mean, I think they'll be fine. Just play your guys because they'll lose anyway. Because Sacramento, I think, is mathematically not out of it. If I'm correct.
Oh no, Sacramento's like the sixth worst team, but so they're not. I mean, they're also playing Davion Mitchell a ton, so like they're not going anywhere. But they're tied with Portland essentially, 6 and 7 worst team.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but they're not closing in on 1 through 3 as far as the worst. If that's what you're asking.
No.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen. So I think it doesn't matter for Sacramento. I think they'll find a way to get a win and go about their business, even with the guys playing on Houston.
How many Rockets is too many Rockets?
I think you could do 3 is the most, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have 3 probably. We'll see. Stevie, Rockets, go.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about the minutes are just on tape, but I still think if he plays 28 minutes, he's a solid point per dollar play. He could be one of the best like fades on the slate too. I don't even know, like, and I say fades, maybe fade isn't the right word. Maybe he could be one of the guys that you could go underweight on if you're playing a bunch of teams and it really work out for you. I think KJ Martin is someone that you could really go underweight on too, and it might not work out. So the problem that I see here with Bruno is this game could go small. Sacramento could play small. Houston could play small. You could see a really small game just in general. So just listen, I'm kind of bearing the lead. Mitchell is a fantastic play. His usage is insanely high right now. Jalen Green has been scoring the basketball really well. He's obviously one of these young guys that they want to see play. They ran him out there for 40 minutes the other night. What's interesting too, as far as Houston is concerned, they have a room to win a game. You know, they have a 2-game buffer right now. So if they happen to win a game, what do you mean
2-game buffer?
It's the bottom 3, right? The bottom 3 all get the same lottery balls.
Well, yeah, but like if nobody, but you also, if you don't win the lottery, you get the 4 and as opposed to the 6.
No, I know that. I'm saying
they're tied. They're going to be tied regardless.
The bottom 3 are going to stay the bottom 3 unless they all go out. Like the Thunder is at 22. The other 3 teams are at 20. So there's a 2-game buffer for the Rockets to the Thunder is what I was saying.
Correct. Though, if you're third, now you can fall to the 6. If you're first, you get the 4th pick at worst.
Oh, I get what you're saying. So I mean, at the end of the day, you want to lose as many games as possible. So why did the Magic win the other night? I didn't know like that aspect of the 4 and 6 thing. I knew that the lottery balls were all the same for the 1 through 3. So
yeah.
So I mean, Houston's obviously not going to win this game. They're going to tank. So that's a concern. But yeah, I mean, I think Sacramento wins this game regardless. They do have a better roster with DiVincenzo, Barnes, Mitchell. So I think you could play 4 or 5 players from this game. I think the sneaky game on this slate could be the Portland New Orleans game. And we'll talk about the value in that game because Portland's in no man's land when it comes to draft picks. And they're kind of running these young guys out there to see what they have. They have a really good foundation for next year. So getting these guys minutes seems important to Portland. So we'll talk about that. But I think for this game, you guys kind of touched on almost everything. Josh Christopher, he's really cheap. You can take shots on him. Jason Tate, he should get there. DiVincenzo, Kevin Porter Jr., Mitchell Green, all these guys fine.
By the way, Magic starting lineup, Stevie?
I saw it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No Wendell Carter. Anthony Hampton, Franz Wagner, Okiki, Bamba. So like,
Full tank mode, baby. Let's go.
I mean, why did we not hammer Washington? I know that line's Atlanta's doing their best to lose that game.
And shout out to Meansy. We did a preseason basketball show this year, and he called under 25.5 wins for the Orlando Magic. Shout out to Meansy. That was solid.
They're at 22, right?
Yeah. They're not winning it. No, they're at 20. They're at 20.
Oh, 20? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Shout out to me. I'm going.
It's already over. You're calling it.
Yeah, I'm calling it over. I waited, but shout out to him.
You said you like Mitchell a lot on Sacramento. Who's your second favorite King?
Second favorite, probably DiVincenzo.
Yeah. It's just now we have a bunch of guards is the problem, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with potentially stacking this game is you use a lot of guard spots.
Yeah. Fernando and Martin are the interesting cheapies to me. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what the starting lineup. Green is very playable. Porter is very playable. This game as a whole, super interesting. I mean, I think the center for Sacramento, Jones, there's no Len. We have Jones projected to play 26 minutes, which might be a little bit light. I don't know. Not certain. But I think he's at least interesting. Although the price is adjusted a little bit. But all right, we got to power through 11 gamer. But that game I think is the most important on the slate. Give me your favorite play on each side of that game, Andre. Your favorite Rocket, your favorite King.
Price wise, I mean, just from a price point for Houston, I do like Davion Mitchell a lot. But I kind of sneakily for ownership and the price like Harrison Barnes because the minutes he's been playing too. Like, I don't know why they still if you're going to run him for 38 minutes, especially against 40 minutes against this front court, by all means, let's take advantage of it and have a big day. And then from the Houston side, it's probably going to be either KJ Martin or Josh Christopher for me.
Atlanta, OKC, 229.5 is the total. Atlanta's at 13-point favorite here. Hunter is questionable. Gallinari is out. OKC has potentially 9 bodies, down to 8 if it's Trey Mann. Trey Mann gets scratched. He's currently questionable right now. Prices have adjusted, but you still have some OKC plays where they just kind of sort of have to play. This also seems like a situation where they're likely not to win, so they can play their guys regular minutes. Yeah, Andres, feel free to start on whatever side of the game you want. Of course, Trae Young's here. And he should do whatever he wants for as long as he wants for however long this game stays close. And I think he's kind of like buried on this slate, which is weird. But yeah, what do you have for me?
I like Trae Young a decent amount. Tournaments he's a good play for. Not someone I'm going to probably have just because it's OKC and his price is $11K, which is really, really, really high. And granted, he's kind of warranted a little bit. Clint Capella is an okay play. I think I like I know he's been playing 30 minutes the last 2 games, so he's someone that can easily step in and have a monster and continue to have a monster game. So I don't mind it. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic is someone else I think we have to have a little bit of interest in. We got Hunter. Hunter's ruled out, I believe, already too, if I'm correct. So he's someone
He's
that
officially questionable.
I don't think he's going to play.
Okay.
But I think Bogdan can have a monster game here in this spot. So I like the main, like those are 3 main guys I like from Atlanta side, and just going to probably run it back with maybe one or OKC. It's going to be complicated a little bit. Like Roby's a good play. Theo, obviously, Meladon is an excellent play. And Poku is too, but the prices have gone up. More so Maladon is the guy I would go with over Poku though.
Yeah, Maladon's the guy getting the most ownership right now in DK. We're looking at 36% at 5.7K, 33 minutes projected. And that's under the assumption that man plays. If he doesn't, they're gonna be really thin. And then a guy like Wiggins would get elevated too. We saw him get loose last game. We saw Roby get loose last game, career game, tougher matchup, obviously, against Capella, but they will need him. Poku, 6'7". It's a pretty steep price, but yeah, in theory, he could pay that off too. Stevie, knock out both sides.
Trae Young's one of my favorite plays on the slate. The Thunder have done a great job of keeping games close, and they've done a terrible job of defending the point guard position. So I think Trae Young, if this game stays close, he could be the best raw points play on the slate. So very, very low ownership, 10% on DraftKings, probably around the same on FanDuel. I don't have it up in front of me. A lot more ownership on FanDuel. He's 10K, right? So on DraftKings, I think Trae Young's fantastic. I think he's fantastic on FanDuel too. I think I would take the under on 26%, but the Thunder keep this game close, and Trae Young just has a field day. Clint Capella, 6,500, I think is a fair price for him. Over 40 fantasy points in back-to-back games. They've been running him out there for 30 minutes. The Thunder are young. They don't really. Isaiah Roby's not going to be a guy that is going to give Clint Capella a ton of trouble inside. So definitely don't mind those two guys on the Atlanta side. And then the value, Wiggins, Maldon. Oh, I forgot to mention Okongwu. He's kind of interesting for tournaments if you're going to not play Jokic and go cheap at center. He's like 3.5K on DraftKings. So he's like one of those potential pivots, cheap. Maybe he gets 18, 19 minutes, and he's a guy that could produce 1.3 to 1.5 fantasy points per minute. So just wanted to throw his name out there. But yeah, I like Maldon a lot. He's someone that I've just been crushing his point prop on Prize Picks every day. If we had sports betting in Florida, I would be betting the max on his point prop every day. So he's crushing. So yeah, I mean, I like this game. This is a game. If the Thunder keep it close, we're going to have a lot of fantasy goodness.
We had sports betting for like 3 weeks or whatever. It was the hell we're on.
It was a month.
A month. Memphis, San Antonio, 234.5 is the total here. San Antonio 5-point dog. Triple J is questionable. My guess is he doesn't play because Memphis is not moving. They are in the 2 spot in the West, and that's that. They can't catch Phoenix. Golden State really can't catch them. So why would they play him if there's anything going on? I suppose he could play. Sure, he can. We know Morant's out as well. We know how good that defense has been for Memphis as well when Morant's been gone. San Antonio, they're getting Walker back. They're fully healthy, and I guess they're going. They're going to get the 10 spot. And they're taking up for the Lakers. It seems like they're going to play the play-in most likely. We'll see against New Orleans, right? All that said, Andre, I don't really love this game. It's got a big number, and you can always play DeJounte Murray. You could play some Tyus Jones and some Bane and whatever, but I don't think I have a lot of this game. Is that a mistake?
Only person I really do find myself trying to get a lot of here is a guy like DeJounte Murray, just because the season he's had for sure. It's a phenomenal season. So I like the spot for him, especially like you said, even though the defense makes it a tough matchup. But I love the fact of him going to this type of environment. I think he could easily have an upside game here in this spot against Memphis. Especially if it's like a triple double and gets it going. So he's like the top person I would love. And then plus, like you said, they're trying to win games and trying to stay above the Lakers. So if someone to do that, they'll be fine. So I expect a big game from DeJounte Murray pretty much almost every night going here from here on out. Memphis side, only guys is really interesting mainly is going to be a guy like Desmond Bane if he gets going and shooting the ball, and Tyus Jones. And that's really it.
Stevie?
I think any slate you can play DeJounte Murray, but I don't know if this is a slate that I would play him. I don't like this game, and it's weird not liking this game. The total on this game, the environment of this game is juicy, but I mean, you could play Desmond Bane, you could play DeJounte Murray if you want to go like a 1v1 run back situation, but the pricing is right. There's not a ton of value in this game. So for me, maybe Tyus Jones on DraftKings, but I think there's better guard plays. Yeah, it's just one of those games unless Triple J gets ruled out. If Triple J gets ruled out, obviously opens up a guy like Brandon Clark who should get a few extra minutes and, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, outside of just DeJounte Murray, because he's DeJounte Murray and he's the MVP, but that's about it.
Evan Fournier in, by the way. So, slight ticks to maybe like a guy like Quickly. Doesn't mean you can't play him, but, just a slight tick there, I suppose. Let's move on. We got 2 games left. Plenty of time to get some questions afterwards. Pretty good pace. 11 gamer. Some of these games are kind of not a lot to say. Phoenix, Golden State, 221 is a total here. Phoenix is a 5-point favorite. This is Stevie, I've been saying this for a while and I've just been wrong. Like, I don't know why Phoenix is not like just coasting in. They're so locked in to the 1, and that's that. And they're still playing like Booker 35, 40 minutes. Some games they're playing Chris Paul 35 minutes. I don't know, man. You can't just assume it's going to happen, but at some point they should relax. They're probably going to relax. Maybe not tonight. National TV for what it's worth, but yeah, I don't know what to do with this one. But again, this is another game where I don't think I have much, if anything. Not here to discourage people from playing guys like Booker or Paul, but I don't think I'm there. Poole, of course, you can play in tournaments. He can, he's going to run the show there for Golden State to some extent. But yeah, I'll yield to you first, Stevie. Does this game appeal to you?
And just like, should they rest people? Yes. Will they? I mean, they've won 8 straight, and running that momentum into the playoffs is going to be kind of big for them. So I do think they should rest, but I don't know if it's this week. Maybe next week we start seeing it more.
Yeah.
But I think Chris Paul is still a little too cheap. He's come back. He's played big minutes. He's been back to that like triple-double type upside type play, or maybe more double-double. Maybe not triple-double. His rebounds are not there, but his usage has kind of been right where it's at all season. He's 8K on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. He's someone that could go for 50 plus fantasy points. He's okay. If you end up in that range, I think he's okay. But yeah, on the Golden State side of things, my favorite play from Golden State might be Otto Porter Jr. And I know that's not something we would have said earlier this year, but this guy, he's getting minutes and he's making the most out of it. So, double type upside for Otto Porter Jr. right now. And this game kind of stinks. You kind of hope this game goes a little low owned and, low scoring.
What excites you here, Andre? We should say Clay and Draymond, Porter all back from their injury rest. Of course, Curry's still out. Cam Johnson not officially out. I don't think he's I think he's doubtful. McGee not available for illness. Most heavily, we're seeing Devin Booker right now 1% owned on DK, which again, if you're running 150, it doesn't take much to get over that. 12%. Chris Paul's 36 years old. We've seen him break down end of seasons before, right around playoff time. Like, I'm not rooting for it. And who am I to question the coach of the year? But it's just, and again, it might just happen not tonight, but in a couple of games. It's just a weird thing, and they're so far ahead of everybody. They're just, what's the upside? But yeah, what do you have here, Andre, as far as Phoenix, Golden State?
Yeah, I'm not really rostering nobody. I have players my player pool like Chris Paul because the prices thing is still good from at 8K. That's the only thing I think that's good with him. I think you should run him out by itself. I think he'll be a little owner up where you can use it to get different on the slate. I mean, Ayton actually is not a bad price either, 6.9K, but I just don't know how much upside he is at this matchup with the way Golden State plays defense with Draymond there back too. So I'm not really concerned with him that much, just mainly Chris Paul. Golden State side, I don't think I really want to roster anyone besides a guy like Jordan Poole at 8,200, just for the simple fact that we know the usage is going to be high and everything that he has to get and do for this team today. So other than that, I'm not really going to be on anyone else.
What if you were playing on FanDuel? Would you play Draymond at 4.9?
Oh. I want to, like, for me with Draymond, I'll play him when the playoffs come around. I got to see it to believe it with him right now. I think he's not in shape. I think he's messing up on his defensive calls a lot. I think he's just needs to get that all figured out. before we before the playoffs comes, and he'll get rolling.
The last time he like paid off a 4.9 salary basically is January 3rd. I know he missed a bunch of games, obviously, but at 28 FanDuel points. I mean, if you want to call that paid off, like not really. You don't need that the last time out. But yeah, he's just, maybe he's still just figuring stuff out. Like you said, like maybe he's just kind of like pacing himself. These games don't matter a heck of a lot necessarily. Let's talk about the last. Oh, go ahead.
Like a quote from Steve Kerr saying that their main priority with Draymond is just keeping him healthy for the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's super important, obviously. All right, let's talk about the last game, that is New Orleans and Portland. 225.5 is the total. Portland is a 14.5 point dog. It's amazing how bad they are. They are getting a couple pieces back. Greg Brown should be available with his eye. I don't know who Didi Luzada is, but he's available and probably plays a little bit. I think he's in our projections. The other side is more important here, Stevie. Jonas Valanciunas is currently questionable with his foot. If he doesn't go, it could potentially really open the door up for Willie Hernangomez. Of course, this is a late game. We almost definitely won't know this stuff until at some point in the slate. The previous batch of games ended 8:30, and there's a couple 10 o'clock games, so maybe you only have one other game to work with. It's also a first blood revenge game for CJ McCollum against his former team. Oh, go ahead. What you said, you kind of teased this earlier, Steve. You sort of like this game. I assume CJ also. Well, I'll leave it there. You go ahead.
I mean, this game's fantastic. Portland is running out these young guys a ton of minutes a night. Brandon Williams has been fantastic. He's 7'4", which is a little sticker shock, but he's shown multiple times that he can go for 45 plus fantasy points. So I think Brandon Williams, Yahoo, if you play on Yahoo, Brandon Williams is probably one of the first guys in your lineup today. I almost got to tag him as a value play over there. I think he's like $21 on FanDuel. So yeah, I mean, Portland, I really like Eubanks because no one's going to play him at his price. Brandon Williams, I don't think he's going to be popular because he's kind of priced up. Keon Johnson is someone that's been playing really solid minutes. Their rotations have been tight, and that's what we're kind of looking for. And then on the New Orleans side, CJ McCollum is going back to Portland. I mean, I don't really need to get into much more than that. We talk narratives all the time. In basketball, you can do something. Basketball, you can shoot the ball anytime it touches your hand. You can have as much usage as possible. So I think CJ McCollum is in line for a monster game. I think Valanciunas ends up sitting in this game, which potentially opens up, a Hernan Gomez, a Herb Jones type plays, Jackson Hayes. And it opens up more shot attempts for CJ McCollum. So I don't mind Brandon Ingram's price on DraftKings, but I think CJ McCollum is the best tournament play on the slate tonight, and he's definitely going to be in my single entry lineup.
The tricky thing is, Stevie, how comfortable do you feel leaving a spot for a Hernan Gomez under the assumption that Valanciunas is out, because you could get stuck? Jackson Hayes, another guy you talked. So how comfortable you feel doing that? Because you'd have to build in a utility spot, obviously, and you'd have to build it with an extra Portland player, an extra New Orleans player, or extra Phoenix or Golden State player. You'd have to use that forward utility guard spot and build it out and have an alternative lineup that you like to be able to do that. I think that's the only way that you're doing it, or you're playing catch up in the late slate. And you leave $1,000 on the table and you take Hernan Gomez and put him in your utility spot over somebody else because one of your guys at 7 went 6x instead of 7x, and you're trying to win a tournament. I mean, he can get there if this game really gets ugly, if Valanciunas plays, but he also played 4 minutes last game versus the Lakers. He would not be someone that does anything if Valanciunas plays. So it's a huge risk. Highly doubt we get it before lock. The thing that's kind of comfortable about it too is you could build a lineup with Jackson Hayes or maybe even a Greg Brown and switch to Hernan Gomez if that news happens. Because those guys are going to get 25 to 30 minutes each anyway. Greg Brown 4-1. Yeah, he's an interesting one. If you have $600, He should. I mean, it was just an eye thing, so I assume he's going to be good to go to get some
He
run at
should be
least.
fine.
Andre, what do you have here?
I do like Brandon Williams today. It was nice to see that he played 40 minutes. So he's someone I'm gonna probably try to one of my top. He's gonna be one on a higher end. I want to say my top guard, but definitely on a higher end of guards I'm gonna roster today for sure. For this game. What else do I really like from Portland? I like Keon Johnson a little bit. That's really it. I'm not on a lot of guys from Portland. It's more about the New Orleans side of figuring out also what they're gonna do with J Val. Because if J Val's out, I do definitely want to go, like I said, with Willie Hernan Gomez. I think he'll be a fantastic play for sure today. But if he is in still, if he isn't still, then I'm gonna probably attack him a little bit because I think no one's gonna own him in tournaments at 8,300. He can still have like 60, 70 fantasy points in at that price. That's cheap for him to do that. BI is way too cheap too at 7.3K. I love it. I would probably try to roster him for sure. One of these three guys pretty much has to be rostered. I feel either Ingram, Valanciunas, or CJ. They have to be. More so probably Ingram or CJ, I would say, because of the price points. And you can find a lot more value at the center position. But to me, if I'm running, like me personally, this is just from how I viewed all these games and everything. I'm running either CJ or Ingram in the majority of my lineups today, just to run it back with someone from Portland and also at the upside.
We got a question here in chat that kind of pertains to it. So the Valanciunas thoughts, you're okay holding 2 or 3 spots for the Hammer game?
I personally am, yeah.
All right, some more questions in chat. Want to knock out as many as possible before we step aside and make way for Crunch Time, the show on Rotogrinders.com as the premium show. If you guys have premium access, Andy Means, Kevin Roth, take you guys straight up the lock. Stevie, do you think this is a stars scrub slate or a balanced build slate? And that's kind of like, well, I don't say it's almost like saying, are you playing Jokic or not? But you could play Jokic and just he's the only stud. Yeah, well, what's your take on that?
I mean, I said it earlier. I have 3 guys in the 8 to 9K range in my lineup right now. So I don't know if you'd call that like stars and scrubs, but it's definitely there's a lot of 4 and 5K guys in there too. So I mean, it's not like Jokic and Luka like it was. What was it, Tuesday night when we had the like 5-gamer where we were playing like 2 big end studs and playing a lot of punts. But I think I'm not playing Jokic to answer your question, Dean. There you go.
Fair enough. Andre, Jay Burnsy wants to know your favorite chalk and fade. I guess they want, so what your favorite chalk play, I guess, and your favorite player that's kind of chalky you don't want to play? I assume that's what they're saying.
I'm going to say my favorite fade kind of going to be, it's going to be tough. I'm going to definitely be under the field. It's going to be Jason Tate. Just for the simple fact that we talked about the minutes and everything. My favorite fade, a favorite play, I guess, right? Oh no, favorite fade is Jason Tate. Favorite chalk is going to probably be KJ Martin according to our ownership right now.
All right, let's see. Stevie, you were talking about stacking Houston and Sacramento. Are you mini stacking or full stacking? I'm not really sure how to. Again, is it like 2-2? No, you're talking about 2-2, right? That thought process.
Which game? I didn't hear you cut out.
Houston, Sacramento.
I think you can go 3-1 or 2-2.
Yeah. Andre, Jeff wants to know, FanDuel tournaments, is Love and Garland a chalky pairing? No, people are not playing Garland. He's gonna be less than 10% owned. So no, Love will be popular, but the pairing probably not very popular.
I don't know how popular Love will actually be because we got. I think he should still be popular, but Moses Brown, I think, is starting today forever.
Revenge game, Moses Brown, right?
Yeah.
He's drawn the start. Oh man, how are we gonna react to that one? Is he interesting? He's got to be like still minimum, right?
He has to be, but no, I'm not. I don't think he's. I mean, he played 6 minutes the last time. I don't know if it's a spot start to just keep the routine the same. That's what I'm worried about. So I don't know what to take from it. I personally would still play Kevin Love.
Yeah, I mean, does Moses Brown close or is Kevin Love close? I think Love closes, right?
I
Yes.
hope.
Okay.
And Moses Brown is 39. Like, you're playing KJ Martin over Moses Brown every time.
Andre Keelan wants to know how excited about your main man Patrick Williams and is back from his injury. It's not going well.
Guy Patrick Williams, man, you can't play him this year. He got hurt the first game of the season, so he's only been back like 4 or 5 games now. So, and he's only getting like 18 to 25 minutes off the bench for Chicago right now, and until he gets his way back into the rotation. So next year I would be on him again.
Would you pivot off Bruno to Moses Brown with the news that he's starting in place of Mobley? I don't think I would. I don't think so. Would you guys agree with that? Sounds like you guys agree.
So Bruno was
Bruno or like KJ Martin or one of those guys, like whoever is starting is probably
Yeah.
better than Moses Brown, right? I think.
Well, yeah, definitely for sure. It's just that Moses Brown is 3,900, so you'll have salary left over. Just be mindful of that.
Yeah. We loading up on Houston scrubs? Kinda. Yeah, kinda. It sounds like I think we all like them. We'll see what that starting lineup looks like. Stevie, DK single entry tournament, 2v2. You want Jokic and Metu or Cat and Maladon?
The second one, Cat and Maldon.
Andre, any love for Christopher Love? Who's Christopher Love?
So
Any Christopher Love? No, okay. Christopher,
Yeah.
the guy for Houston. Okay.
Yes, he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. Hope he's slow on and sneaky. But yeah, I love him today.
Any love for, this is Kearney's question, any love for Murray or Ball at low ownership? They're both going to be low owned. Who's the guy you're more likely to play, Andre, in tournaments? Ball or DeJounte?
That's actually tough because I looked into what Steve was saying. He did get like 50 something. The 50 something fantasy points matters. But DeJounte, he hasn't really played well against Memphis all year. I probably got to do Ball.
DK tournament thoughts on Garuba? He's the one I'm like least comfortable about, but I'm also afraid he's going to start. So I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I might end up on him if he starts. But ideally, that's not the scenario we have to deal with. Stevie, would you consider Capella and pay up for 3 expensive guards as opposed to playing Jokic, who's going to be, obviously he's much easier to get. This is FanDuel specific, which makes sense. 3 expensive guards and no Jokic and get Capella.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to get different. Everyone's going to use, there's so many good value guards on this slate that's a great way to get different. And I think Capella, he could put up like 40 fantasy points, which isn't going to touch Jokic. But if your guards outscore the value plays by, a good amount, that's where you can kind of get catch up.
Andre, rank these 3 guys on FanDuel. Kid Catastrophe wants to know Terry Rozier, Ant-Man, which is Anthony, right, for Minnesota, and Keldon, Big Body Johnson. Keldon, Rozier, or Ant-Man?
Give me Terry first. Who's the other 2? It was
Keldon and Anthony for Minnesota.
And it was so Terry, Anthony, and then
Edwards, yeah.
Edwards, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was saying it wrong for some reason. I was thinking Anthony's his last name, and like I just kind of throwing me off for some reason. Like that's not right. Ant-Man was throwing me off, but hey, we did not finish. We finished poorly yesterday. Our last minute kind of sputtered, and this is on me. We didn't finish strong. My apologies. We got to go though. We got to step aside and make way for crunch time. Do appreciate y'all watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on notifications. Next week, starting some baseball. Excited about that for sure. Obviously, basketball doesn't stop either. Gonna have some crossover shows. It's gonna be a lot going on, and then baseball never stops. NBA playoffs going on as well. Do appreciate Devin for producing. Appreciate y'all watching it, hanging out there in the Discord channel as well. Rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. That's for non-premium members as well. Thanks to Stevie. Thanks to Andre. That was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Oh.